good morning, first of all. I want you guys to try to imagine a world that you live in where when someone talks about a dolphin or a whale, you don't know what they're talking about. Or if you do, it's only because you've heard about that animal through maybe a story or a drawing. So we're fortunate enough to know about these things in our world. And when I was little, I was able to go on guided boat tours, go to aquariums, and of course go to the famous SeaWorld to see these animals. So today I want to share with you and try to convince you that SeaWorld is actually a very beneficial place to study and observe marine life. And I'm going to talk about how SeaWorld does not abuse their animals, how they provide us with access to marine wildlife, and how they give us a new appreciation for sea life. So first, let's start off with how SeaWorld treats their animals. Everyone should know how they actually treat their animals because of the huge controversial movie Blackfish. If you guys haven't seen it, it's basically it's a movie that portrays how, or falsely portrays how SeaWorld actually treats their animals. You guys should know that it's a propaganda movie and that it was highly dramatized for Hollywood. And in reality, it was not accurate whatsoever. So, SeaWorld cares, so they're not abusive, and the statistics portal reported that there are over 5,000 full-time employees, 6,100 part-time employees, and 13,700 seasonal employees that work at SeaWorld. So from those numbers, actually only about under 1,000 people have close contact with the animals on a daily basis. SeaWorld Cares spoke out about the false depictions that the movie Blackfish tried to portray. So in the movie Blackfish, there are two employees, former employees, who claimed that they were trainers and there were other trainers abusing the whales. However, it was proven that these two employees had little to no experience with killer whales, did not work closely with their marine life, and had not worked at SeaWorld for over 20 years. So to take the word of these two employees that had almost no contact with the whales over the 1,000 that actually have daily contact with them, sometimes all day, is just insane. The physical effects of captivity are sometimes highly misunderstood. So Jennifer Kennedy, a marine life expert, spoke out about why the dorsal fins of whales often bend and why sometimes the whale's tails, called the fluke, can bend as well. So the dorsal fin and the fluke are made out of connective tissue called collagen, and it doesn't have any bones or cartilage to support it. So when a whale comes to the surface, they like to bask in the sun. This is much like a cat or a dog, how they like to lay in the sun. Whales like to do this too. So the sunlight can break down that connective tissue, causing it to bend. So this actually does occur in the wild. In some population, it occurs more, but there are, of course, other factors that can cause this. Age is a big one. This is similar to us. We get old, our bones, our muscles, our tissues, have problems, and gravity takes its toll. So only a few whales in the wild have actually been studied enough to produce statistically valid research of a whale's lifespan. And SeaWorld Care reported what the limited research did show, and what that did show was that scientists estimate the average lifespan for a female whale is 30 years and a male whale is 19 years in the Pacific Northwest. But in southeastern Alaska, the lifespan for a female is 50 and for a male is 30. So you can say that a female killer whale lives anywhere from 30 to 50 years, and if a male lives anywhere to 19 to 30 years. At SeaWorld, they have several whales that are in their 30s and late 30s, and they actually just had a female whale that turned 52. So all the animals at SeaWorld are extremely well cared for. They've cared for animals for over 50 years, and MarineLife.com reported that SeaWorld is actually a global leader in the care, behavior, and enrichment of their animals, and are accredited by numerous and the world's foremost professional zoological organizations. These animals are healthy. They are adapted to their surroundings, and that's very evident through their constant care, their interaction, their observation, and this is all 24 hours a day. SeaWorld also no longer captures wild animals. In fact, they have not captured a single killer whale in 35 years. They reported that instead now they do animal rescues, so any animals that are ill, injured, or orphaned. They're on call 24/7 to go assist them. And their goal is to successfully rehabilitate all the animals, and they've already helped over 25,000 animals. So next, let's kind of talk about what SeaWorld gives us. SeaWorld provides us with more things than people think about, and one of those is access to wildlife. So because there are so many animals at SeaWorld, researchers and experts are able to study and observe the behavior of animals. SeaWorld Care reports that research has helped scientific knowledge around topics such as the length of nursing for killer whales, the gestation period of female killer whales, and sexual maturity for males. And in recent years, they actually developed a successful program of artificial insemination to produce 4 healthy killer whales that are still alive and doing well today. Blue World Project, an organization dedicated to better understanding marine life and expanding education, spoke out, and they said that not only does the research help the whales and animals at SeaWorld, but it also helps wild animals as well. And by understanding normal things like the reproductive function, they're able to better understand if environment changes have adversely affected the reproduction function in the with wild whale populations. And another thing that SeaWorld gives us is it gives us an opportunity to experience marine life firsthand. And we would not be able to do this otherwise if places like SeaWorld were not around because of how much money it would cost. So if no marine life was easily available to us, it would cost thousands of dollars to go on or to try and go on expeditions to see these animals in the wild. And yes, there would be things like whale watching, but of course you're not going to get as much in-depth information and you're not going to get that close to the animal. And even if you wealthy people did have the money to go out on these expeditions and try and study the animals, they're not guaranteed to see the animal. So you could spend thousands of dollars trying to see these animals, and you might not even be able to, and you certainly would not be able to gather the research that SeaWorld has been able to obtain. So finally, let's talk about some of the positive benefits we get from experiencing and supporting places like SeaWorld. SeaWorld provides us with the ability to appreciate marine life. So we're able to visually see what the marine life looks like up close and personal, and because of this, we're able to form bonds with the animal. So a personal story of me seeing this bond was when I went to SeaWorld a couple months back. I was able to do the dinner with Shamu, so you're up close and personal with the whales and the trainers. And ever so often, a trainer would walk up to its whale and would give it a bucket of ice or a really big fish, or it would play with a weird toy. And I was curious as to why all the whales were not getting the same treatment, so I asked the trainer, and she said that because each bond is so special with each whale, that they all like different things. So one whale might like the way that ice feels on its tongue, and one might like a fish better. So this is kind of like humans when you guys are figuring out what to get your friend for Christmas. Okay, well, this person might like this, but this person's not going to like that. So the bond is very personal between a whale and a trainer. Advocacy for animals reported of how a whale died in Urban Harbor, and upon opening its stomach, it found that it was filled with plastic bags, plastic containers. And after reporting this all over local news stations and Association for Animals, donations to stop plastic from going into the ocean skyrocketed. And this can kind of be explained because you see the animal on TV, you feel bad for it, you're able to empathize with it, and then because of that, people want to donate and they're able to form that bond and want to help better the whales' lives. So after forming a bond with an animal, people want to protect it and keep that animal around. So PBS.org reported that in the 60s, after SeaWorld opened, whaling regulations shot up for a number of reasons. Some was just because people were going out, or inexperienced fishers were going out and not being careful enough. But one of the major reasons was because people were able to physically go to SeaWorld, see the animal, make a connection with it, and from that people wanted to donate to causes and wanted to keep it off the endangered species list and help its cause. And then after the movie Blackfish came out, people became very concerned with the conditions of some of the animals, And due to this, donations and conservation funds were started by SeaWorld actually. So one of their conservation funds is SWBG conservationfund.org. And they reported that they've already granted $11 million since they were founded to provide essential funding to species conservation projects worldwide. So this is just yet another example of how after bonding with an animal, more people are inclined to want to help that animal and keep it off the endangered species list. So watching propaganda films like Blackfish, it can be easy to jump to horrendous conclusions without actually looking into the truth and the facts. So today we talked about how Blackfish was dramatized for Hollywood and it was propaganda. We also discussed how there's no actual proof that any of the trainers are hurting any of the animals, and that most of the physical effects of captivity can be explained, like the bent dorsal fin. SeaWorld now spends most of their time caring for rescued animals and rehabilitating others. SeaWorld provides us with access to wildlife that we would not have for socioeconomic reasons otherwise, if places like SeaWorld were not around, while also providing us with groundbreaking research that helps wild animals as well. And finally, we went over how being able to see animals up close and personal allows you to develop a bond with that animal and appreciate it. And because of that bond, makes you want to keep them off the endangered species list. So, naturalist Baba Diome put it best when he said, in the end, we will conserve only what we love love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we have been taught. SeaWorld's been open for 50 years, and they've been educating about marine life. They're instilling a greater appreciation for the importance of the sea, and they're trying to inspire people to make a difference. More than 4 million guests have visited 400 million guests have visited SeaWorld and have been able to experience part of the wonders of the sea. So I hope today you leave here knowing that the truth about SeaWorld and knowing all the positive and beneficial things that SeaWorld has to offer us.
So, Abby, what did you think?
I thought she did a really good job. I think she outlined it really well, explaining what she was going to talk about. I appreciated that it was a different opinion from my own, because I would usually have disagree with you, but I was glad that I've got to hear more opposing opinions to what I used to. Although I think for some of it, I'd like to hear with the dorsal fins, why that's such a big deal, because you kind of talked about why it's okay for their dorsal fins to change, but you didn't really talk about why people think that SeaWorld is to fault for that, the beginning part of the story. And you had good eye contact with the audience, but you read your cards just a little bit too much. It was really good.
All right. Yeah, I think there's a little bit more context that's necessary, and some people are going to be up on all of the controversies. They'll have seen Blackfish, or maybe they'll be aware, but you ought to be pointing out, especially at the beginning, as a justification. Why do we need to make this argument? And the argument is that SeaWorld is having a negative backlash, that there are substantial criticism, that people have suggested even that they be shut down, that there's something that's going on here, and they're missing. All these folks are missing the point, that kind of thing. And I think you need to kind of set that up a little bit more. You sort of assume that everybody knows that, and some people probably are aware of it, but a lot of people aren't going to be, and so you need to create a little bit stronger need. I thought you did a good job setting up your goal and objective for the speech very effectively, and you make your arguments, I think, pretty well. But once again, sometimes you're making the arguments without enough context. Like Abby was just talking about the dorsal fin. Same sort of thing about the criticisms that are made in the film Blackfish about the way the animals are treated. I know that apparently they're quoting trainers who may have had incidental contact more than 20 years ago with the animals that they're talking about here, but I don't even know exactly what it is that they said was going on that was bad. You know, you're kind of assuming that everybody is going to know that sort of thing, and I don't think we do. And so when we're getting the rebuttal to an argument that we're only hearing a little bit about. Now, it's tough to do in a short amount of time, and you do go 2.5 minutes overtime, so that's a little bit of a problem. So I understand that. I thought that you did a nice job trying to add some personal element to it using your firsthand experience and getting to some of the emotional issues that go along with it. I appreciated that. Let's see. I'd have to agree with Abby that you're doing a little bit more reading than you want to at this point. I think you needed a little bit more practice. And like I said, there are a lot of interesting points here. There are a couple of places where the transition language is a little next. I hate that checklist kind of thing. Now, sometimes I don't want to say you can never use a word like that, but it does seem like you were better going from, I think, to the last point than you were from the first to the second and third points. Okay. Well, we need to move on, I guess. Thank you.